back to the first career that you ever thought you would have. For most of us, that is not the career that we are planning on going into today. But that does not mean that we failed at achieving that goal. As we move along the road of life and try and figure out what our goal is in life, we must rely on others to find our way. But what we always forget is that those people rely on us as well. Stephen Colbert's 2011 commencement speech teaches us that you cannot win at life, do not be stuck on one dream, and we must rely on and help others. Stephen Colbert is an American comedian and political commentator. He is best known for his role on the Colbert Report, which he was doing at the time of this speech. He sounds like a really successful guy, huh? But what you don't know is that Stephen Colbert never properly graduated college. Instead, he got a little yellow slip of paper for being incomplete. And what I didn't tell you is that he got that incomplete at the very college at which he's giving this speech today, which must have taken a lot of courage. Throughout his speech, he is trying to persuade the audience to be better people and to serve others so that they will serve you in return. The speech was given at Northern University in Illinois. The speech was given to a wide array of people, including the siblings of the graduates, who were in their single digits still, to the grandparents of the graduates and deans, who were well into their 70s and 80s. Overall, he got a strong, positive reaction from the audience. People loved his mixture of comedy and life lessons.
You have been told to follow your dreams, but what if it's a stupid dream? For instance, Stephen Colbert of 25 years ago lived at 2015 North Ridge with 2 men and 3 women in what I now know was a brothel. He dreamed of living alone, well, alone with his beard, in a large, barren loft apartment, lots of blonde wood, wearing a kimono, with a futon on the floor and a samovar of tea constantly bubbling in the background, doing Shakespeare in the street for homeless people. Today, I am a beardless suburban dad who lives in a house, wears no iron khakis, and makes Anthony Weiner jokes for a living. And I love it, because thankfully dreams can change. If we all stuck with our first dream, the world would be overrun with cowboys and princesses. So whatever your dream is right now, if you don't achieve it, you haven't failed, and you're not some loser. But just as importantly, and this is the part I may not get right and you may not listen to, if you do get your dream, you are not a winner. After I graduated from here, I moved down to Chicago to do improvisation. Now, there are very few rules to improv, but one of the things I was taught early on is that you are not the most important person in the scene. Everybody else is. And if everybody else is more important than you are, you will naturally pay attention to them and serve them. But the good news is you're in the scene too. So hopefully to them, you're the most important person and they will serve you.
That was just a little snippet of Stephen Colbert's speech. At the time of the speech, the United States was still recovering from the 2008 economic collapse. Gas prices were averaging at about $3.50 per gallon. Everyone was scared, and it was only looking out for number 1, which you may be thinking to yourself at this point, gee, that sounds kind of familiar, and you would be right. At this point in U.S. history, we are worse off economically than we were back then, or throughout all of American history. But despite it all, we must remember that life is not a solo sport, and that we must rely on and help each other. This lesson will survive because it is something that does not have a specific timeline. Throughout our lives, and throughout whatever time period we go through, we always need each other to survive. Stephen Colbert used several rhetoric devices to get his point across to the audience. He used an allusion to several 80s things to gain a rapport with the audience. In the quote, "Later we're all gonna get together, put on some leg warmers, crank up our Sony Walkman, and Wang Chung to Mr. Mister until the flock of seagulls come home," which got a huge laugh out of the audience who had been through the 80s. He also used an anaphora, in which he said, "If you love your friends, you will serve your friends. If you love your community, you will serve your community. If you love your money, you will serve your money. And if you love only yourself, you will serve only yourself, and you will have only yourself." He also used a metaphor in which he said, "Life is an improvisation. You have no idea what's going to happen next, and you're just making things up as you go along. And like improv, you cannot win at life." He also used ethos, pathos, and logos. For logos, he used a New York Times statistic to state that throughout the year of commencement speeches, the words love and service were the words that were used most often, because that was what the country needed at the time. For pathos, he was understanding, in which he said in the speech that he knows that the graduates will probably not take his advice, because he knows that he would not have taken his own advice at that age as well. And for ethos, he's a very successful guy, but he did not achieve his original goal. And yet, he's still thankful for everything that he has, and knows that he did not get there alone, and that he wouldn't be where he is without the other people that helped him along the way. In conclusion, Stephen Colbert's lessons are ones that apply to everyone, regardless of age and time period. The lessons of you cannot win at life, you must rely on others, and do not be stuck on a dream are ones that will carry through history. In conclusion, Stephen Colbert's speech is one to remember because of the important lessons that were passed on to the class of 2011, and hopefully you in this audience as well.